What we're willing. The regrets always came in spades. Xehanort dealt with them in so many different ways that it became second nature to him. He accepted that feelings couldn't be dealt with artificially, but had to go away on their own accord. Yet regret was a constant, a motivator for the future he envisioned. When he saw how far the older him went, it became easier to convert the metaphorical worms in his guts to nutrients that would fuel him. This was for the best. Whatever more bodies splayed on the ground weren't sacrifices that would be made in vain. The new world would be balanced, with no more light blindly encroaching on everything, and no more darkness to infect hearts and destroy others from within. The strong would rebuild the universe into a better and stable place. Every careful plan set in place was meticulously created for that purpose. All he had to do was completely focus on fulfilling his part. "Oh, hey!" A very distinct and grating voice greeted with a long drawl. "The young goat has decided to grace this world with his presence, I see." Xehanort frowned at Xigbar, who came into his view with that slimy smile that made the master in training entertain the thought of messing up the plan if it meant he could get rid of the guy. He reminded him of something, someone, but distorted, and that irritated him. "What is it?" he asked, not even bothering to conceal his displeasure. Xigbar shrugged. "Just wanted to check in on the Nort Court. I'm honestly surprised you're not out there messing with Sora." "There's no need to do such things," Xehanort commented. "We go meet him at our set times." "Not even a jab at the kid? No fun." It took way too much restraint from the young man to retain his retort. He was above petty squabble, no matter how much he wanted to deck him. Xehanort didn't understand how Xigbar made him so angry that easily. Even the eternal soothing sunset of Twilight Town, where he'd spent the past hour standing, couldn't lift his mood. Must be some innate talent or whatever. "Are you only here for idle chit-chat?" Xehanort looked away. "Because if so, you could do that with members who are actually interested." Xigbar laughed. "As if. You think anyone other than Demix cares? I don't even know where the guy is right now." So he's self-aware, Xehanort thought. "Besides, I came here for a reason. Personal reason, but I think this will be important to you too." This made Xehanort actually look at him, encouraging the man to continue. "You've met all the other Norts, haven't you?" He began to count with his fingers. "The old Coot, Ansem, Xemnas, Terra. No, I don't think you've officially met Terra. I prefer to call him Terra Nort, though. We got him up and ready recently." It wasn't untrue. Xehanort hadn't met this version of himself, only getting glimpses here and there. He didn't know the full circumstances, and he figured that the gritty details were inconsequential, considering that he wouldn't remember later on. He'd heard of Terra due to all the talks throwing the name around for the plans. "Does it matter?" This made Xigbar smirk. "Maybe not, but like I said, this'll probably be important to you. Doesn't he even look the slightest bit familiar to you? I always thought that Terra looked the most like his master out of the three." Looked the most like his master? Xehanort thought back to the handful of moments when he saw Terra. The gray, skin-tight top over a beige hakama. It hadn't been that long since he last saw that outfit. It was almost one for one. The sensation struck him like waves during high tide, heavy weights on his ankles, tempting him to follow or fall back. "Oh, looks like I hit a sore spot, huh?" Xigbar's voice lowered, tinged with amusement, and a tone that Xehanort couldn't place, but it annoyed him all the same. "Leave if you're done." "I've said my piece." Xigbar waved his hand as he opened a portal. "Hope that didn't dig too deep, little goat. It'd be bad if you got second thoughts." "Then why say it at all?" The white-haired man glared at Xigbar's back as he disappeared into the corridor. Was he a parasite? A virus of sorts? Why did he let someone like that get so close? And what did it matter? He wouldn't remember when he went back. Twilight Town was full of life. Couples on dates, families heading to a restaurant, a pair of friends bickering as they walked along the paths. He wouldn't remember any of this. Why did it matter? Xehanort took a good look at Terra Xehanort while they shared the same space. The resemblance was undeniable, barring the hair. Of course Eraqus would have a pupil that wore an outfit almost exactly like his own. He was conceited like that. "What is it?" the other asked. It felt weird, having to talk to who was essentially himself. Who knew he'd really need 13 lives to pull off his plans? It was a joke in the making. "This body," he answered, hesitant in a way he hadn't felt in a few months. "How did you get it?" Something flickered across Terra Xehanort's face, a knowing look. "This Keyblade wielder has a natural affinity to darkness compared to his comrades, so he was perfect to be a vessel. It was only a matter of letting that darkness grow in the right setting." A student with an inclination to the dark under the tutelage of Eraqus. That was a 5-course meal set before him without asking. The sequence of events fell into place in his mind. There was no way that stubborn, light-filled boy would let things happen without acting. And clearly, the possessed vessel had clipped all the details away on purpose. "Do not let your head get filled with sentiment," Terra Xehanort stated as he walked away. "Whatever you feel, you won't recall when you go back." He had heard that destiny was never left to chance plenty of times before. That was what he believed in as well. Every step that he took would lead him to where he needed to go, and every action was one that contributed to his eventual fate. All the plans set up would lead to one ending, the one told in the Book of Prophecies. Isn't that boring? Life's more fun when you don't know everything. Eraqus would hoot in laughter, calling him uptight and too by the book. He would lean on whatever he could, hands behind his head and a mischievous grin on his face. He would try to trick Xehanort into looking elsewhere, so he could swap or steal pieces while they played Alba and Ader. He would sneak a bite of his cake and bemoan its lack of sugar when their group of friends would go out into town after classes. Xehanort would go back, see a living, breathing Eraqus, his smile a little worn down, and fate would have to play out the way it has to. Destiny was never left to chance. It didn't matter what promises they made. The oldest version of himself was the hardest to speak with. Young Xehanort felt a degree of separation between the two of them. How did one talk to the version of themselves who experienced it all? "You appear to be bothered," the eldest spoke. The way he said it made it sound like he also felt some kind of difference. They were the only two left in the Keyblade graveyard. The perfect time to finally ask. Despite all the thinking he had been doing the past how many days, he barely managed to utter, "Eraqus, what happened to him?" The elder remained unfazed. He let out a resigned sigh, the condescending sound irking the younger. You should know better than anyone. Xehanort's eyebrows furrowed, his teeth grinded against each other. Why did that old man look at him as if he were analyzing the results of an experiment? Eraqus was never going to understand or relent. I did what I had to for the sake of our goal. Maybe it was because the events were playing out as they should, that despite his lungs constricting from the shallow breaths he was taking, the two of them were still there, preparing to make their strides forward. That's why his older self could stand and look apathetic as he spoke of Eraqus like a footnote. Was there no other way? He asked softly, bordering on a plea. The old Xehanort paused, his expression seemingly unchanged, but even the young one could spot the slight downward tug of the corners of his lips. Do you think things would be like this if there truly was? The regrets always came in spades. Funnier that they could even come from things he had yet to do. But what else could he do about it? Xehanort was once again in Twilight Town, preparing to confront Sora. All the parts of his path had been laid down since before he was born. He had to go. There was a bigger picture to look at. He couldn't falter now because what would that mean for all his friends and the rest of the worlds? If not him, then someone else would possibly make it even worse. This was the role he was given. He had to let the feelings settle down on their own. At the end of it all, those sacrifices would be worth it. The universe would see what he meant when it came to the struggle between the light and darkness, and why he has to reset everything. Because if he failed, if he couldn't do this, he wondered what Eraqus's face looked like at the end of it all. Xehanort took a deep breath and opened a corridor. He had to finish what he started.